So we discussed the Nesira, and we discussed a little bit the concept of a kibbuk small, that is hugging with the left hand. All of this is taking place really in the period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur, by the time Yom Kippur comes, all of the dinim that are in the acharayim of Zah have moved over to the Nukva. So now we're in a different period. So this is Yomim Shebein Motzoi Yom Kippurim, on the days that we're in right at this moment. And tonight is going to be Yom Tov, so we'll try to get to a little bit of background here. Yomim Shebein Motzoi Yom Kippurim ad Shmini Atzeres v'lo ad Beklal, that is up until Shmini Atzeres, not counting Shmini Atzeres. Akol hu inyan chibuk yomim. So we discussed chibuk small, that is the hugging with the left hand, the transfer of the dinim that are inside of Zah through the Ima and back into the Nukva to sweeten her dinim. But here we have a situation where it's called hugging with the right. And already the Nukva in these days, she's mamash able at coming around to Zah. This is the period that we're in right now, and she's able to stand facing him. Below im Yaakov Levado, not just with Yaakov, which is a lower level of relationship that the Rav brings in different places. Ella im Zah Atzma, but with Zah together, because Zah himself is much higher, is much loftier, much more complete than Yaakov. That this high idea of hugging her with the right hand is really giving her the idea, or not the idea, the flow of chesed from Zah. The chesadim are also building block which build her up, but they build her to the point where she's able to actually have intercourse with Zah. So we see like this, these chesadim, yesh bechem shnei bechinos, they have two different aspects. So Ima, when during the time that she was inside, that her left side was inside of the Nukva. I'm not sure exactly where this came from. Just 1 second. Let me see if that was my question before, is where did these Chesadim and Ima come from? Because previously we had the Gevuros that were inside of Ima, were inside of Zah. Ima took them out and put them in her. Let's see what the Bechina Rishonik Chesadim Shalokechas min Ima Atzma Shlo Yedei Zah. So the Tiv writes on this, Bechina Rishonik Masha Mekabela Sanuk mi Ima Atzma. They are Chesadim. V'lo Ad Yedei Zah. She doesn't get these from Zah. But Mesha calls them on the Nizkala Isle during this period of time that we have been talking about. Through the time of the Nesira, she had also received certain amount of Chesadim from Ima. Shehem Ma'achre Yom Kippurim. This happens after Yom Kippurim at Shmini Atzeres. So he said, V'yesh Bechina Zu Shnei Halokim. So this Bechina has two different parts. A Chelek Arisha, which is the Chesadim, or Panimi. It's called the Chesadim of interior light, Panimi light. But Chelek Hasheni, or Makif. And so there are two different types of light. So we understand that light, when we speak about light in Kabbalah, we're speaking about the Panemios that really taking us back to the Ein Sof Baruch. It is something without substance. It's an energy, or the energy force, which has no quantification or qualification. We have the Rav has different ways of describing it, and its potential. It's called the Ranchi, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai Yechida. These are called oros, or lights. So these lights come into different kinds of forms. In the forms, there are two different forms. There are forms of the light that goes inside of a vessel. There's a form of a light which is too strong, which is really usually refers to Chaya, the two upper lights, which are called, or the most Panimi lights, which are called Chai Yechida. They really were called Makifim. And as a result of that Makifim means they surround the vessel because they're too powerful for the vessel to hold it. So you say, so that's the first idea, that you have here two different kinds of light. The first aspect of Chesadim is that now we are getting a pure chesed being shown onto us during this time. During the 8 days of Sukkah, we're going to get more and more of it as it comes closer and closer and closer to us, leading to the time of Shmini Atzeres. Because there's also, which he's face to face with him, he is now getting Shefa again inside of himself from Ima, and he's shining that over to her. This is not an aspect that's inside of Zah, that's part of Zah. Now let's look at Zah and try to look at him as if he was me or you. Zah has a Rosh. The Rosh has 3 spheros in it, basic spheros, which are Chesed Gevurah, Tiferes, or Keser Chochma Bina. But in most cases, we're talking about the 3 upper ones as being Chesed Gevurah, Chochma Bina and Das. That's the Chabad that the Lubavitchers are talking about. They're pronounced slightly different. So it's the same thing. Chochma is the right brain, Bina is the left brain, and in between the two of them, acting as a balance, is another concept which is called Das. So the actual emphasis of Ima inside of Zah rests, that is her Yesod, rests inside of the Das, the Zah. There are 2 locations of the Das, the Zah. Right now we're going to speak about the first location, which is between Chochma and Bina, which is in the Rosh. But the goof of Zah, this is what he says, is that it itself transmits Chasadim over to the Nukva from his lower extremities. We're not going to get into all that, how that works. So the first thing is you need a tremendous amount of light. From the place where it ultimately comes from, which is Ima. And then since it came from Ima and it went into the what we call the Das, has 2 different sides to it. As one side is called the Chassan Das, that's the right side of the Das. The other side is called the Gevurah Das, that's the left side of Das. So they need to be here. They need to come out from there into the Gufa Zah. So that's a concept of Das. Das is really more or less in the neck. There's an extremity. There's another part of it extends down to the to the Chazan, and this allows for these Chasadim and Gevuros to spread into Zah and is ultimately into the Nukva. This is part of a deep discussion that you have in the Rav. And as a result of the spread, this Atara, which we call the Atara, which is the crown of the Chasadim, which is really the shorish of the Chasadim, is because the Chasadim are 5 Chasadim. The 5 Chasadim are Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, and Hod. And these Chasadim go into the different parts of Zah, and they build Zah up. But after they built Zah up, and Zah is built, he transferred them over to his Nukva. And this prepares her. This is actually the transfer that is taking place here, is the lead up to the ultimate Zivug. So also in this second aspect, we see over here, Yesh Shnei Cholokim or Panimi or Makiv. So let's go back to that again. There are 2 different types of lights that are associated with these, with whatever vessels we're talking about. Again, lights that are interior. These are called Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. Those are inside of the Kalim. And then there's also 2 other lights which are called Chaya Yechida, which are, Chaya is called an Or Chozer in the sense that it goes in, but it can't stay, it's too strong, comes back out. And Yechida is way out, way far away. It's a light that's just much too infinitesimal, and as a result of that, it doesn't have a direct relationship with any vessel that we're talking about. So he said, "V'amnam inyan hamshachas hachasadim the ima v'sod or panimi." So we have a hamshacha, the chasadim that come from ima into the das of Zah, their interior light. Hu shelo ayidei ma'isa. This happens by itself during the period of time that we're talking about, and as a result, that's all together. Yom v'yom v'motzi Yom Kippurim, every single day from the time that Yom Kippur ends, ad Yom Rishon shel SUCCOS nigmarim dekanes ba. So inside of Zah, these Chasadim are coming in. V'hiyamim ha'elo ba'etzem yesh bechem shleimus hazeh. So these days that we're in right now is a time in which the chasadim, which are called these oros panimim, these lights, which are interior lights, are coming in by themselves into us. Or makiv, so when we see that they're actually, that's the light of the interior light. The panimi is the or panimi. But as this chesed is coming down to us, there's another kind. There's the oros panimius, panimi. There's also the hamshacha b'sod or makif, but now there's also a hamshacha that's coming towards us called or makif, the surrounding light, or the it's good enough surrounding light. Who are you? They mitzvah sukkah. How do we get that light? By performing the mitzvah of sukkah, by dwelling in the sukkah. Shuva b'chinas or makif aleinu k'noida, which is actually the concept of this other light, the higher type of light, which we see that takes a place on as we sit inside of the sukkah. And now, as we're entering into the sukkah, the time of sukkahs, and we understand that during the period of time we're in right now, we have a certain amount of light that is coming to us naturally during these days. This is called the Or Panimi, but it's not a complete light. The Or Panimi could be called by the name Naran, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. The Or, which is called the Makifim, are called Chai Yechida, and they are surrounding us, and that is the concept of the surrounding of the Sukkah.